Who doesn't love Pavlova? I've got some great tips when it comes to making meringues, and I've got a secret ingredient which I will share with you as we go along. So when it comes to your bowl and your whisk, make sure they're dry, clean. You can always run around it with a piece of kitchen towel and some white vinegar. Eggs, you're going to need 4 eggs for this recipe. So when it comes to your eggs, you want to crack them in a separate bowl. You want your whites and your yolks separate. You certainly don't want any of the yolk getting in with the white, because that's a higher fat content in the yolk, and that will stop your egg whites from rising when you're whisking them. So sometimes when you start whisking your egg whites and they become all light and fluffy, and then all of a sudden they go to a texture, I suppose, a bit like a bubble bath, that means you've overbeaten your egg whites. So with the secret ingredient of corn flour and a bit of white wine vinegar mixed together, it does a few things. The acidity of the vinegar stabilises the egg whites, and another thing that the corn flour and vinegar does, apart from stabilising your egg whites, is it gives it a really, during the cooking process, it gives it a really crunchy outside and a luscious chewy middle. So in your meringue, you're going to need a teaspoon of corn flour, a teaspoon of white wine vinegar, so adding your sugar slowly helps you to get a really fluffy meringue. So when your whites have got to this stage, that's when you start adding your sugar really slowly, a little bit at a time. So the secret is, can you stick this glossy, shiny, peaky meringue above your head and it doesn't fall out the pot? It's done. So I've got a piping bag, and I'm going to show you a quick chefy tip on how chefs use piping bags. Fold it over, and then you get your hand in it and you hold it like that. You can't put it in a jug like some people do. So that what happens when you take your meringue out, you scrape it on your hand, and it helps to keep it all nice and in control. And then another really good tip I'll show you in a minute, because what you've done is you've folded this over. So when you fold it back up, you're not going to have meringue all over your hands. So when you pick it up, all the edges at the top of your piping bag are clean. So if you have a nozzle, great, and I don't. So I'm just going to cut it.
I know.
So with your piping bag, once you've cut the tip off, if you just grab the ends all together, twist them round, and you can squeeze it, and you can see your meringues coming to the end as you squeeze the top. And then every time you squeeze a bit out, you can just keep twisting it round. Now with your pan that you're going to cook your meringue in, just dab a little bit of meringue on each corner. So that helps when you put your grease proof in, that it doesn't fly all over the oven and stick to your meringue when you first start baking it. I'm going to do a Pavlova, so I'm going to do one big one. And you don't need to put any grease, again, you don't need to put any grease or anything on it, just the paper, because you don't want fat content in your meringue. So you need to preheat your oven to 100 degrees C, and we're going to cook it for an hour to an hour and a half. Fan oven, maybe 90 degrees C. So we've just whipped the cream to not stiff peaks. It's quite pliable still. Right, strawberries. Plonk them on wherever you like them.